G'day guys, Steve here from Bulleen Health and Fitness. What I'm going to take you through today guys is a quick guide on how we handle walk-in and how we handle phone-in inquiries at our club. With a walk-in or a phone-in, there's quite a structured procedure to how we handle it to get the best result for our club. Now, obviously, the way that we work is what we call pull marketing, where we get everyone to come and trial our club, whether it be on 7-day passes, whether it be word of mouth, or obviously they're just coming to check the place out. The most important thing to understand with any inquiry is when someone has already called the gym, or even more so when they've actually come and walked in to have a look around the gym, that person's already 80% sold. They're already thinking about joining the gym. We've just got to give them the means in which to do it, or more than that, not actually give them a reason to then not want to join as part of the presentation. So have every confidence, guys, that everyone that walks into the club or phones into our club is pretty much already there. What we need to do is just get them over the line, and the way that we do that with about an 80 to 90% success rate is by following the structure that's behind us. Now, when we go off like a cowboy and follow whatever structure we want, given that all of us on the team have very different personalities, unfortunately it doesn't tend to work the way that we want it a lot of the time. Not because we're bad people, but because we haven't followed the process and we've got to a different end result to where we should have been. What we're going to start off with first, guys, is walk-ins. To be honest, how we handle a phone-in is just more of a simplified version of how we handle a walk-in, where we get everything in front of us at the one time. The structure of what we follow is intro, open-ended questions, club tour, empathetic response, price presentation, and then close. So 6 easy steps. The intro. So the number one thing we want to do when someone walks in to inquire is make an introduction straight away. There's a few reasons why we do that. The main reason is it allows that new prospect to drop their guard. A lot of the time, the best way to understand it is to put yourself in someone else's shoes. If it was you walking into a gym, obviously a big place with a lot of people, you always will put up some kind of guard going, oh, I'm just here, I'm just looking around. Or I just wanted to see if you had classes. Or they may even walk in and go, oh no, I'm not sure if I want to join. Like I said at the start, remind yourself this person is already 80% sold. That's just a normal human defense mechanism when we walk into somewhere and we want to make sure that we've got a bit of a buffer to make ourselves feel comfortable. So the best way to break that down, introduce yourself. G'day guy, I'm Steve, nice to meet you. That is enough just to bring them down. What's your name? Then we start to get into the second bit, which is open-ended questions. There's a great line in Shrek where he goes, donkey, ogres are like onions. It's exactly the same with people and with sales prospect. People are like onions. You've got to peel back the layers with open-ended questions before you'll get to what we call the hot spot. The hot spot is that emotional reason why someone is joining the gym. Examples of emotional hotspot, they might have a wedding coming up. They might need to lose 20 or 30 kilos. They might want to get fit to get into the police force. They might have a family member that's recently passed away due to a health reason, or just want to get active with their partner or with their kids. But we need to find out that reason, and that'll be the reason why someone will join. Not price, not facilities, not anything else. If we can accommodate and find that emotional reason, someone will purchase a membership for the right reason and not doing it following some kind of salesy gimmick. So what we do, introduce ourselves, open-ended questions. What made you come into the club today? What are your goals with your training? Did you have a time when you want to achieve that by? How would it make you feel if you achieved those goals? All examples of open-ended questions, guys, and I could probably give you 20 or 30. Now, I don't want to do that because we don't want this conversation to sound robotic. We introduce ourselves, looking at the person in front of you, off the cuff, have half a dozen open-ended questions prepared. If you do that, you'll then get the prospect talking about themselves. They'll relax, they'll start to envisage why they've come into the club today, and then we move into the next bit, which is the club tour. Now, how we do our club tours is very different to most clubs. I don't want you to walk someone around bit by bit. What happens when we tend to walk people around is we start showing off the club and we start talking about things that may not really be relevant to that prospect or that person. So what we want to do when we talk about the club is describe to them the areas when they go for a look around that might be applicable to them. We're then already establishing that relationship because we're describing areas that we learnt from the open-ended questions. So, g'day, my name's Steve, nice to meet you. I've already found out that you would like to obviously work on a bit of weight loss and that you've got a wedding coming up in 6 months. On your club tour around the club, our heavy lifting room and outdoor training area probably won't be very specific to your training. However, our cardio theatre with our virtual spin classes and our upstairs functional training area where the trainer will do your program are probably very specific for you to have a look at. Anyway, what I'll get you to do is I'll give you 5 minutes to go over next door, have a look around and have a look around inside our main building here, explain to them the areas of the club and then let them go and look around by themselves. The reason why we do that, guys, like I said, first of all, we're not going to talk someone out of a sale by continuously talking because we always try to avoid silence, but more so that prospect's then going to get excited about what appeals to them specifically. So like I said, intro, open-ended questions, sending them around the club, they'll get excited about the areas that appeal to them. Then when they come back to reception, it's what we call an empathetic response. So this is when we then respond to them based off what they've told us in their open questions and we're empathizing with them. So how did you go looking around the club? Did you see the virtual spin classes I was talking about and the area upstairs where you're likely to be doing your training for the program for your wedding? Oh yeah, that's great, that's fantastic, it's exactly what I was looking for. Or generally a response somewhere along those lines if we follow this process correctly. From then, we go into our price presentation. We present, yes, we are, $9.95 a week, no contract, staff 24 hours, or whatever the facility features may be, and then we go into close and the person will sign up. So just to recap it, guys, introduce ourselves, open-ended questions, getting to know and trying to find out the emotional reason of why they're coming to join a gym, getting them to go around on the club tour, making themselves excited. We then give them an empathetic response, showing how all this links together and getting them visualizing how we're going to help them to achieve their goals into the price presentation, and then we close the sale. Fantastic, let's get you started. The best close I've ever used that always works, guys, is after you've presented the price, looking that person in the eye, once we've got the relationship from them, putting out your hand and going, let's get you started. Those 3 simple words work really, really well, guys, and get a tremendous result. In terms of talking about a phone-in, obviously we don't have the ability to close the sale here. So all we want to do is to basically get the top half of this process already in action. So when that phone inquiry does become a walk-in in the club, we're already halfway there and winning the fight. So on a phone-in, once again, introduction. Hi, my name's Steve. How can I help you today? We'll help to drop the guard. Once they start talking about themselves, the best thing for us to still respond with is open-ended questions. Fantastic. Can you tell me a bit about what you were wanting to do with your training? Can you tell me a little bit more about those goals? Is there a specific time in which you wanted to achieve those goals? The more open-ended questions we have, guys, the further we're going to get to know that person, build rapport, and the more that likely phone-in is going to become a walk-in and come into the club to properly inquire. What we can do from there, if the conversation's going really well, guys, is set an appointment. If so, try and get that person to come in on your shift and say to the person, look, I'm actually here for the next 3 or 4 hours. Would you like to come down and see the club today? Yes. Now, that is a question that 80% of us don't ask, and that actually works 80% of the time. If you ask someone when they're on the phone, would you like to come down to the club and look, unless they're looking after a child at home or they've got a specific reason they can't come, most of the time they will come in the next following hours, either when they finish work on their way home or when another family member comes home, they will come down and inquire within a few hours. If not, it may be the next day or the day after, but if we're able to set an appointment time, research shows that person is 80% more likely to turn up and inquire in the club. So it is something that's really important. And then we trial close. So what a trial close is look forward to helping you out when you come down to the club, and I'll see you soon. So we're already starting to practice what we get to at the end of the walk-in. So just to recap, introduction, open-ended questions again, trying to find that emotional hotspot of the prospect and why they're looking to join the gym, trying to set an appointment if we can, preferably on your own shift, if not setting it as soon as possible so that we can help that person with their training, and then into a trial close where we're already talking about them coming down and joining up to the gym. So once again, guys, just to recap, if we follow this process, it works 90% of the time, and that's because of the structure that goes with it and the way that the human brain thinks, and actually having a bit of confidence in our product and what we're trying to help people do. If we sit back and obviously don't provide this structure to people, the biggest issue we know in Australia why people don't train and why they're overweight is procrastination. Everyone thinks about joining a gym, everyone thinks about going to do classes or thinks about getting a personal trainer. The reason people don't get results is because they never get around to it. So on that day where they are motivated because the weather's nice outside or they've got another external reason and they do phone in or walk in, we've got to make sure we follow this process, capture that lead and help that person on the day. Introduce yourself, open-ended questions, find the emotional hotspot, get them to walk around and get excited about the club and the areas that appeal to them. Empathetic response, showing that we've listened to them and how we're going to help them to achieve what's important to them. Price presentation, and then close with confidence. Let's get you started, and you'll be well on your way, guys, to helping out a lot of people getting started into their training, changing a lot of lives, and our club will be selling a lot of memberships and doing really well. Thanks for listening, guys. Any questions, please come see me in person.